What is up, guys? In today's video, we'll be talking about massive severe weather events that are about to strike the US. Let's get right into today's video. Alright, the first thing we're going to be talking about in today's video is a slight risk of severe storms that we do have an effect across southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, and portions of central Mississippi on Monday. And the big thing here is we're going to have a significant threat of hail. They have issued a SIG 1 for hail, which basically means that we could see hail above 2+ inch in diameter in that black circled region that you do see right down there, going all the way from Alabama through Texas. So if you're in any of those areas tomorrow, be prepared and make sure you have your cars inside, as there could be some very large hail, potentially above 2 inches in diameter, which is definitely some very large hail that will be potential with that. Now, the tornado risk is definitely on the low side. It's only a 2% chance of tornadoes, meaning an isolated tornado too is possible in that region. If you are in the green region, just be weather aware. It's not super likely we see a tornado, but it is possible, especially if you're in areas like Jackson, Mississippi, then definitely be prepared. Now, for timing of these storms, it's kind of hard for me to pinpoint the exact area on the screen, but the first storms is going to really show up here in the morning hours on Monday, and then could strengthen significantly by the afternoon hours, posing risk for hail damage once we get to around noon time, and it definitely could strengthen. I do think we could see some isolated supercells posing risk for some significant hail damage in areas in northern Mississippi around 2 p.m. here, maybe even a pretty strong supercell into central Alabama, producing an isolated tornado threat. Really, the tornado threat is not as significant with this, but there's going to be a lot of instability, a lot of shear that's really going to result in that potential hail threat that we are going to be seeing. So if you are in any of those areas, definitely be prepared during the morning through the afternoon hours for some hail damage. Now, the big picture that we are really going to talk about is this massive slight risk of severe weather and enhanced 3 out of 5 of severe weather in effect across Illinois and Missouri, plus that slight risk of severe weather in yellow going all the way from Texas all the way up to Michigan. That is going to pose risk for insane impacts here. In the orange and yellow areas, all hazards are looking likely here on Tuesday, with a potential dangerous severe weather threat expected. If we look at the combined outlook, we're under the real potential for some significant severe weather on Tuesday. And I'm already thinking that there's potential for strong tornadoes in northern Missouri and parts of central Illinois areas. This is not a normal March event. We're going to see a lot of instability and high shear for this time of year. It's not normal we see very high instability like this at this time of year. While the whole setup doesn't look very favorable for a tornado outbreak, the high shear combined with high surface-based CAPE in March is definitely going to pose risk for strong tornadoes. And I'm thinking it could potentially be significant, potentially even a tornado outbreak potential. But this is still a few days away, so things will fine-tune over the next few days. Definitely by tomorrow we'll see more details. Now, the first model we are going to look at is the RRFS, which this isn't my favorite model at all. I like the ARRR much more than this model, but it is the best we have for this far after being 3 days out. We will get more of the ARRR details once we get into tomorrow. But here's what we are going to look at. We're going to see some extreme instability levels. This is showing nearly 4,000 instability in Missouri and Illinois. I've never seen that in March 8th, that much dang instability shooting up in parts of Missouri and Illinois. We're seeing 3,000 CAPE in central Missouri, Columbia, Missouri, 3,600 CAPE. I'm not sure this is 100% true, but a lot of the models are hinting at this too. And at the same time, very high shear levels are showing up across this region. So this is definitely going to be a pretty significant severe weather event that is going to be upcoming. If we look at the upper air level winds, let's look at the low level jet. Look at that. Low level jet's going to be cranking at around 9 p.m. It's going to be pretty severe. It's definitely going to get a lot more in the overnight hours when the storms aren't as severe, but the low level jet is definitely going to be cranking across a lot of these regions. Now, the overall synoptic pattern for this isn't as favorable for tornadoes, like the 300 millibar in the atmosphere levels. But once we get closer to the lower levels of the atmosphere, it's looking a lot more favorable for severe weather. And just look at that. And if we look at the radar now, you shouldn't always look at the radar with these things, but look at that. Massive supercells setting up in central and northern Illinois, posing that tornado risk. Just absolutely absurd. It's possible we even get some storms closer to St. Louis too. That's a lot more uncertain whether we get these storms developing near St. Louis, Missouri or not. It could be further to the north, but other than that, they're under the threat with this too. Is the instability is going to be pretty significant there in St. Louis, but the main threat might be a little bit further north in central Illinois regions. But it's definitely looking like central Illinois is going to be the bullseye with this system, right around near Springfield, Illinois, maybe Quincy. Quincy areas are going to be in that big time bullseye for tornado potential. And then there'll be another threat with this. We're also going to see some big storms setting up across areas like Texas, some supercells, and maybe even a line of storms posing a risk for wind damage. It's not as going to be as significant as this threat potential in Missouri and Illinois, but we could see a few isolated tornadoes and damaging winds and hail. And another thing I wanted to say, with this extremely high lapse rates and shear, we're probably going to see some extreme hail levels. I do think we could see significant hail, potentially even above 3 inches in diameter in some areas in central Illinois and parts of northern Missouri. It's not common that we see that in early March, but it's definitely going to be possible with these storms, given the favorable kinematics. Now, overall, the real take from this is that we're going to see some very significant severe weather impacting many of these regions, definitely during the evening hours on Tuesday. And if you're in the yellow and orange areas, get prepared now, as significant severe weather is expected. And I do expect that enhanced risk to expand significantly as we get closer to this, and potentially even a moderate risk 4 to 5 could come out in the future, but that's not 100% sold on that yet. But overall, this is going to be a very dangerous tornado threat and significant severe weather threat on Tuesday. Now, the last severe weather risk we are going to be talking about is this day 4 slight risk 15% chance of severe weather that we do have all the way from Louisiana all the way up to areas like Pennsylvania. So all those areas, including Nashville, Tennessee areas, Cincinnati, Jackson, Mississippi, all those areas are going to be under this severe weather threat, under the gun for this severe weather threat. It's definitely a very big slight risk of severe storms on day 4, but I don't think this is going to be as significant as Tuesday's severe weather threat. I do think this is going to be more of a damaging wind threat, as it's probably going to be a squall line posing the risk for damaging winds, but maybe even embedded tornadoes could be possible. We're still not having the most details on this weather threat yet. Let's look at the RRFS real quick. I've not looked at this threat too much, but I do want to take a look at it. Yep, definitely what I'm saying. So it's basically just the big storms we are seeing in Texas right now. It'll kind of decay, and then we'll see a new squall line kind of develop on Wednesday. And it's definitely showing a squall line rolling through Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee areas, posing the risk for that damaging wind threat that we are probably thinking on Wednesday. So yeah, that's definitely what I am paying attention to, maybe even during the overnight hours on Wednesday. And there could be some embedded tornadoes with this too. It's looking like areas like Mississippi and Arkansas and Tennessee are going to get the main threats from this one. And then maybe more of a supercellular threat in Ohio with tornadoes. We'll see about that though, but it's definitely a little bit far out with the severe weather on Wednesday. But overall, if you are in the day 4 slight risk of severe storms, definitely be weather aware and be prepared for some severe weather potential on Wednesday. Now, the last thing I want to mention is we're also going to be seeing a lot of rain, a lot of precipitation from this system. Look at those yellow and orange and red areas are hinting at over an inch of rain, and that whole wide swath all the way from Texas all the way up to Michigan seeing above an inch of rain, and that's going to also pose a risk for flash flooding potential that we are going to be seeing with this. And due to this, we do have a slight risk of flash flooding that is actually in effect all the way from Texas all the way up to Michigan on Tuesday, where we are going to be seeing that potential. That means at least a 15% chance of flash flooding occurring within 25 miles of a point anywhere in that yellow area. So if you are in that yellow area, definitely be prepared, as flash flooding is possible, as training of thunderstorms will definitely occur during the evening to overnight hours across many of these areas. And Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Oklahoma, Texas, all could see some flash flooding potential. And some of these areas could be even upgraded to a moderate risk in the future. So definitely be weather aware about this, and make sure to turn around and don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Also, the last thing I do want to mention is the temperatures. It's been feeling like summer across a lot of the areas in the Midwest, Eastern, and Central, even in basically the entire U.S. has been seeing very above average temperatures, and that's going to continue through Tuesday, as it's going to be very, very warm in the Central and Eastern U.S. And then we'll probably see an isolated area of cold after that severe weather comes through on Tuesday, and Wednesday we'll see a cold front come through and a little bit of cooler below average temperatures. And then it'll be back to more above average temperatures again on the weekend around March 14th and March 15th. And then we're looking at the potential for some real cold. The cold's going to be back, guys. Maybe more winter-like temperatures that is going to be coming in by Monday and Tuesday on March 17th. So the week after this upcoming week, we could definitely be seeing below average temperatures across much of the central and eastern U.S. and that pattern with much above average temperatures with a ridge across the western U.S. And that might occur for a while. It's not going to last for too long. I bet the warmth will start to be back by the end of March like it's showing. But a definite real period from Monday through at least Thursday of below, very, very below average temperatures on this ensemble model showing up across many of these areas that will occur. So if you love the warm temperatures, you probably won't enjoy this, as it's going to get pretty cold across much of these regions again. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to be like 10 degrees because it is March, but it doesn't mean some areas will get into the 40s for the highs. So it's going to be pretty chilly compared to this big time warmth that we are having. But the warmth will be back, obviously. Alright, hope you guys did enjoy today's video. The main picture is that severe weather across much of the U.S. that we're going to be seeing. Basically, already tomorrow we're going to see some severe weather in the deep south, and it's really going to jump up, and we could be seeing a tornado outbreak potential in much of the Midwest on Tuesday, so definitely be weather aware for that. And then a squall line bringing some severe weather potential too on Wednesday that we could see. It's been very warm across much of the areas, and then we could see a potential cool down the week after this upcoming week right now, so definitely be weather aware for that. Alright, thanks for watching everybody, and bye guys.